Hi, everyone. I tried to go live from YouTube and it did not work. Like I was on, but you couldn't hear me. So there you go. But anyway, I wanted to share with you guys another hospital notary appointment that I had because I think it's important that you understand how sensitive these type of appointments can be. Like it's just not your typical appointment where you're just going to somebody's office, home. mm, realty office or whatever to sign. Okay, so yesterday I had a hospital signing that I ultimately had to decline, and I want to walk you through why because these situations are exactly where our professionalism as notaries is tested. All right, so I was called to the hospital to sign a deed. All right, the signer was in a medical ICU. So, of course, I had some questions. Now, whenever I get any type of appointment request to do notary in a hospital, I have to ask specific questions. And these questions can sometimes differ from the questions I ask people who are not in the hospital or um, care facility, right? So, first of all, if I want to know, um, first of all, I want to know is the person cognitive? Okay, because sometimes when you're in the hospital, depending on what you're going through, that part can be impaired temporarily, sometimes permanently. So I was told that the person was in a fragile condition, their mouth was wired shut, and that they probably wouldn't be able to sign documents. And so I said, well, the person would need to be able to express to me that they understand what's going on, and they would need to be able to sign. So their partner disclosed to me that they were also a notary and that they know that the person can sign by mark. And I said, yes, signing by mark is allowed, but it comes with strict requirements, especially in Florida. So since you're a notary, you should know that it requires two impartial witnesses, and I only have one with me. And so I also added a key point that the witness for the mark should not also be the same witnesses that we're using for the document. So on the deed in Florida, the notary can sign as one witness, and then you would have another person sign as a witness that is not related to the signer and preferably does not share the same last name. Okay. So then the person was like, oh, well, maybe I could ask somebody in the hospital. I'm like, no, typically hospital staff, they're prohibited from being a witness on these type of documents for liability reasons, okay? Conflict of interest and stuff. Um, Hello, I'm sending you warm greetings from Sardinia, Italy. Oh, hi. Let me say that you have a very special charm that doesn't go unnoticed. Have a good evening. Why, thank you so much, Fadati. Okay, so let me get back to my story. I don't want to get off track. Um, yeah, so the person was like, okay, well, if they scribble their name and it's not legible, I mean, would that work? I said, well, typically signatures are not legible. Some people can sign and you can tell what it says, and some people can't. But that's why we have the printed name under the signature line, so that is fine. So the person said, okay. And so I decided that I would go to the hospital because sometimes when you get a phone call about a person needing a notarization in the hospital, sometimes it can sound worse on the phone than it actually appears in person. So I just wanted to at least see the person, okay, to see if I absolutely couldn't do it. So I did go to the hospital and I brought my witness with me. And when I got there, yes, the person's mouth was wired shut. And, I greeted the person and it appeared to me that they were either drowsy or medicated. And so I asked their partner, was this the case? And the partner said, no. I specifically asked them not to give the person any medication until after we did this. So I said, okay, well, I introduced myself, I introduced my witness, I asked the person some questions, you know, and I'm just like, you're going to be, are you aware that you're going to be signing this document today? They did this. I said, do you know that I'm a notary and I'm here to watch you sign the document? They did this. I said, do you know what the document is? They did this. So I'm like, okay. So on top of them having their mouth wires shut and them kind of being drowsy and in and out, um, they also did not have the hearing aids because the ICU, I was told the partner not to bring them. So this is another red flag. I'm not sure if the person can hear me or anything. So their partner is yelling in their ear saying, you do know what the document is. I told you what the document is. And so after that, the person did this, which was not okay with me, was not okay with my witness. I did brief my witness before going in that we were going to be there to assess the person's capacity to be able to make a decision and whether or not they were aware of what was going on because both of those are very important. So the person kept, nodding their head and then kind of nodding off. And so I told the partner that I don't think that I'm going to be able to do this. I don't feel comfortable signing this document with this person. I'm not fully confident that they are able to, um, make the decision to sign a document and even know what they're signing. The person became upset and said that the person is always sleepy, even before they got hospitalized. This was something that happened. And so I said, but as me being the notary, who is a perfect stranger, the witness who is a perfect stranger to us, the person has to appear to be aware and willing to sign this document, knowing what it is. And so um, I told the person I must respectfully decline. You know, I asked the signer simple questions to gauge orientation and capacity. I did ask the person if they knew where they were. And so the partner proceeded to say, you know that you're in the hospital, right? You know you're in this hospital, stating the name of the hospital and everything. And I'm like, you can't do that, you know. Now, I will admit, I probably should have had the person leave the room, but because of the way that the person appeared to me, I didn't think that they were going to even do that, you know. So at that moment, I had a choice: protect the signer, protect the integrity of the notarization, and protect myself from liability, you know. So you know, I declined the appointment. You know, I don't risk people. I don't risk their families and I don't risk their documents. And I understand that, the person may not get better, but they may, and I'm like, maybe we can reschedule this, for another time when the person would be more alert. The partner refused and stated that the person is going to be transferred in a couple of days and be in another location. So at that point, I said, well, that's okay. Maybe when they're in the new place, they'll be more aware, and you can get a notary in that area to assist them. The partner said, no, I'm not rescheduling nothing, and asked me to leave. So I did. So that's the message I want to give to every notary listening. Declining a signing is not unprofessional, it is a responsibility. When capacity is questionable, you do not proceed, period. Okay. Your role is to uphold the integrity of the transaction, even when people don't like the answer. Right. So that was all I had to say. And I'm going to talk to you guys later. Oh, before I get off, me and my witness, we did discuss further like, well, because both of the people appear to be very up in age, why do we not have a power of attorney? And had the person been more pleasant to talk to and work with, that was something that I would have thought to mention. Like, if you guys have power of attorney over each other, you can simply sign the deed for him, but, after, having that professional talk with a fellow notary and them basically shutting me down, it was just something I didn't think of at the time. But that is something that could have been done if the person had power of attorney for the partner. They could have signed on their behalf, and we would have been done. It wouldn't have been a back and forth. I wouldn't have had to gauge capacity or anything like that, So, yeah. But anyway, in the library that we have, I do have scripts in there for you guys. So if you ever need an idea of what to ask, and honestly, you could probably just go to ChatGPT and do the same thing. But I try my best to have those type of resources in my library, and that's why you pay the one-time fee and you have access forever. Because I don't feel like it's something you should have to pay for over and over again. But because I do take out the time to fill it up with things that I think would be helpful for you, you do have to pay that one-time fee. But anyway, if you have access, go to the library, download that script and print it out to keep it on your person. So that way you have those questions that you could ask a person before going to the actual place and having to decline the appointment altogether. But I will say, I'm sorry, that even if it sounds really bad on the phone, it's still good to, see in person how bad it really is, because sometimes it can be something that's not that bad. Like, I was called to do a notarization of a person that was dying. And when I got there, the person physically didn't appear to be dying, but they were. The person was aware, the person was talking to me, the person knew what was going on, the person was willing to sign all the documents and was very happy that I came. And then some weeks later, they expired. So, like I said, it can sound really bad on the phone, but then you get there and you're like, oh, it's not that bad at all, even given the circumstances. All right, so now I'm going to check out. Thanks, guys, for listening. I hope that helped you. As always, if you found that to be helpful, like the video, share it with other notaries that may need the same guidance and need to hear this story. All right, you guys have a good night. Bye.